MLB playoff predictions in a different video. Last week, I did my 2021 MLB season predictions for just the regular season. So if you haven't watched that video just yet, then make sure you go watch that video. Like that video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. But before I get into this video talking about my 2021 MLB playoff predictions, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications because I'll help out the channel very much. And subscribe, turn on notifications, leave a like because 85% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed. Get your life together, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and leave a like on this video. Now let's do the what if. What if there is an expanded playoffs for 2021? Then these are the 4 teams that I think, besides that, will end up making it. I doubt there's going to be expanded playoffs, but if there is, this is my predictions for those 4 teams. My first expanded playoffs team in the National League is going to be the Washington Nationals, who just missed out on the playoffs here. The Nationals, I think that the Nationals are definitely a sneaky team. They picked up Kyle Schwarber, Josh Bell, Brad Hand this offseason, along with that rotation of Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, Patrick Corbin, and they've still got Trey Turner, Juan Soto in that lineup. The Nationals are definitely a sneaky team that you could watch out for in 2021. They also signed John Lester, who I think could be a solid number 5 starter for this team. And for the lineup, you're looking at Victor Robles, who I think is a breakout candidate for them. That's what my last video was, breakout candidates. And I think that Victor Robles is that player for the Washington Nationals in 2021. Like I said, you've got Juan Soto, Trey Turner, you've got Josh Bell, Kyle Schwarber. This team is good, and you can maybe expect a breakout season from Carter Kieboom too, which would make the Nationals that much better because third base was definitely a weak position after losing Anthony Rendon in the 2019 to 2020 offseason to the LA Angels. That was big for them losing him. But still, for this Nationals team, I love the rotation. I mean, you've got Strasburg, Corbin, and Scherzer. I am a little concerned about Strasburg. He had a day-to-day calf injury, and that's just not good. I mean, he's got to stay healthy if the Nationals really want to compete for a World Series, because I had high hopes for them last year, and all they did was disappoint. The bullpen, I think, is actually an underrated bullpen that's actually pretty solid. You've got Daniel Hudson, who was really good in that 2019 World Series. You've got Daniel Hudson, Brad Hand. You've got some really good arms in that bullpen that I think could make an impact to your team. So, yeah, my second NL if expanded playoffs team is going to be the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals made one of the biggest moves of the offseason, getting Nolan Arenado from the St. Louis Cardinals, a player that they had interest in for a long time, and they finally were able to get Nolan Arenado. But I don't think that getting Nolan Arenado puts them on the top. I just don't think it does. I think that the Brewers are still a better team. I think the Brewers will win that NL Central. I mean, I like the lineup. I like Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado in the middle of that lineup, along with Paul DeJong, who had a down 2020 season but could definitely be a good piece for this team. Tyler O'Neill, Harrison Bader, Dylan Carlson. I think one of those players is going to break out in 2021. You've also got Tommy Edman at the top of that lineup, which I think is super underrated player there, who's really good. And Paul Goldschmidt's underrated too. Off the bench, you don't have great depth, but you've still got like Matt Carpenter, who could be decent at points. But your starting rotation is what concerns me a little bit, along with the bullpen. Their pitching is really what concerns me here. Because Jack Flaherty is a Cy Young caliber pitcher, but besides that, it's just not that great. Adam Wainwright there is a good pitcher, but he's also like 40 years old, and I don't really know what you can expect out of him. Kwang Han Kim was not very good in 2020 at all. Or I think he was actually. Was he? I think he was pretty good in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Carlos Martinez is another pitcher. I see him more as a relief pitcher, though, and I think he's a really solid relief pitcher for this team, and you've got John Gant there. Miles Michaelis is out now, so that's a big loss there. Two of your best pitchers right there are out. Dakota Hudson's having Tommy John surgery, and Miles Michaelis has shoulder soreness. So if Miles Michaelis can return to his 2019 or 2018, one of those seasons self, then that could be a really big for this team. In the bullpen, I mean, Alex Reyes is your closer, former top prospect. I mean, Giovanni Gallegos, he's not very good. I mean, he's good, but he's not a closer, is what I'm saying. Jordan Hicks, I don't know what you can expect from him. I'm pretty sure he's coming back from Tommy John. And then you've got Andrew Miller there, who is another player that I don't really know what to expect of. So I think that this Cardinals bullpen is definitely a question mark. And yeah, so I have them just missing out on the playoffs. Moving on to the if expanded playoffs AL, starting off with a team that you may not expect here, but it is the Cleveland baseball team. The Cleveland baseball team, they always find a way to at least compete for a playoff spot. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do in 2021. Compete for a playoff spot, take some wins away from the White Sox and the Twins. And I think that they're a very sneaky team here. Nolan Jones is going to be coming up in 2021. Their top prospect, who, I mean, looks like he could be really good, which brings up the question, could they trade Jose Ramirez, which I don't think they should. I think they'll still be in contention. You brought in Eddie Rosario to be in that lineup, which I think is a big move. There, you've also got Andres Jimenez there, who I think is bound to break out on this Cleveland baseball team. And I think both of those players are going to have to really make a big impact because they're lacking power. You also lost Carlos Santana this offseason. So, yeah, and Carlos Carrasco. But that starting rotation, I'm not concerned about at all. I am not concerned about it. You've got Shane Bieber, the 2020 AL Cy Young. You've got Zach Plesac, who I think is a very solid number 2. Aaron Savali, Tristan McKenzie, Cal Quantrill. Cal Quantrill, I think, is really going to surprise a lot of people. And in that bullpen, it's still very good. A lot of people forget about Emmanuel Class A, who they got in the Corey Kluber trade, who actually I think is very solid. I don't know how it'll be without the Roys because what it looks like before, like maybe the stint that he was using the steroids, he just was not very good. You've got James Karinchak in that bullpen too, one of the best relievers in baseball. You've got Oliver Perez, Blake Parker. You've got some arms in that bullpen. I'm not concerned very much about this Cleveland team. I'm more concerned about their offense, less than their defense. So yeah, the next team is a team that maybe made the biggest move of the offseason. This team, I mean, they made a ton of moves this offseason. And they signed one of the best free agents too. Give me 1 second. So it is the Toronto Blue Jays. They signed George Springer this offseason, Marcus Semien, Kirby Yates, David Phelps, Robbie Ray, Steven Matz. I think that this team is good on the offensive side. You notice I didn't say pitching side or altogether because a lineup of George Springer, Marcus Semien, Bo Bichette, Teoscar Hernandez, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Kevin Biggio, Rowdy Tellez, and Danny Jansen is a great, great lineup. Do not get it screwed. That is a great lineup. But when you have a rotation of Hyun-Jin Ryu, Robbie Ray, Tanner Roark, Steven Matz, and Ross Stripling, that's where I'm very concerned here for the Blue Jays. Because I think Hyun-Jin Ryu is super underrated, super underappreciated for what he does for this team. But I think besides that, I mean, you've got Nate Pearson that'll be coming back. But, I mean, their minor league system's full of pitching. I don't know how much you can expect a rookie to make an impact for this team. Their bullpen, I think, is actually kind of sneaky good. Even though I do think it is a problem for this team, I don't think it's necessarily bad. You've got Kirby Yates in that bullpen, one of the best relievers in baseball, even though he did have a down 2020 season. Jordan Romano. Rafael DeLeese is the name to watch out for, who had a 150 ERA in 2020. And you've got Julian Merriweather there, too, who actually is a sneaky breakout candidate for this team, and Anthony Kay, who they got back in the Marcus Stroman trade. Moving on to the NL wildcard game. First team in the wildcard for the NL. I'm going to go with the New York Mets. Additions this offseason: Marcus Stroman, James McCann, Trevor May, Francisco Lindor, Carlos Carrasco, Jonathan Villar, Kevin Pillar. Subtractions: Andres Jimenez and Ahmed Rosario. But who really cares about those players when you've got Francisco Lindor in an offseason? I wouldn't. You also lost Steven Matz this offseason, another just kind of irrelevant trade there because it's not going to hurt them that much. I wouldn't be concerned. They also brought back Marcus Stroman as well and signed Taekwon Walker. So, yeah, this lineup is very good. And, I mean, Brandon Nimmo at the top of that lineup, I think, is a sneaky breakout candidate for this team. You've got Francisco Lindor, Michael Conforto, Pete Alonso in the middle of that lineup, which is really good. Dominic Smith, Jeff McNeil, J.D. Davis, James McCann. I think Jeff McNeil's a top 2 second baseman in baseball right now. I this team is pretty stacked, and their bench is actually pretty good too. Jonathan Villar, Albert Almora, Kevin Pillar, all are very good. But one thing that everyone likes about this team's their rotation. You've got Jacob deGrom, Marcus Stroman, Taekwon Walker, David Peterson, Joey Lucchesi. Not to mention the fact that you have Carlos Carrasco and Noah Syndergaard. They're just waiting to come back. Carlos Carrasco, I am a little concerned about him. He has elbow soreness, and I think people are starting to get a little concerned about him. But even without Carlos Carrasco, I think that this starting rotation is very good. And you've got Noah Syndergaard coming back from Tommy John surgery, but he says he's still is feeling very good after Tommy John surgery. Edwin Diaz, Trevor May, Miguel Castro, Dylan Betances, Juris Familia. That bullpen's actually pretty deep too, and many people were saying that they needed some relief pitching. So your prospects, I don't think they're going to be trading any prospects. A lot of people, as far as a blockbuster trade for the Mets, they are wanting Francisco Alvarez back, and Francisco Alvarez seems to be the prized possession of the New York Mets right now. And I mean, the Mets, I think they make the wild card game, and I mean, in maybe any other division besides the NL West and the NL East, they would maybe win the division, which is kind of crazy. Next NL wildcard team is going to be the San Diego Padres. The Padres, we know they're off season. Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, Ha-Seong Kim, Mark Melancon, Joe Musgrove, Keon Keala, Jurickson Profar, Trevor Rosenthal. Like, this was a really good offseason from San Diego. San Diego still has top prospects to come up like Mackenzie Gore, C.J. Abrams, Luis Campesino, Robert Hassel. But that lineup is stacked. I mean, you've got Trent Grisham, who I think is super underrated, super underappreciated. You've got Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, Eric Hosmer, Tommy Pham, Will Myers, Jake Cronenworth, Victor Caratini. And you've even got Ha-Seong Kim, Jorge Mateo, and Jurickson Profar, and Luis Campesino off the bench. That's absolutely crazy. Your starting rotation is stacked. Adrian Morejon, Chris Paddock, Joe Musgrove, Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, and you still don't even have your two, maybe arguably best pitchers in that rotation, in Mike Clevinger and Dinelson Lamet, currently healthy. So, yeah, Austin Nola is also injured. So, they have been hit by some injuries, but their bullpen is still pretty solid. Keon Keala, you've got Emilio Pagan, who was good just a couple short seasons ago with Tampa Bay. You've got Mark Melancon, Drew Pomeranz. This is a very good Padres team. And winning the NL wild card, I'm going to go with the San Diego Padres. That's going to be the team that I think does win the wild card game, even though you could say, well, how is anybody going to hit off Jacob deGrom? I just don't know that bullpen can hold it down for the Mets. Even though I did say it was a good bullpen, I just don't know that. I just don't know. And I think I'm going to go, the more and more I think about it, should I go with the Mets? I'm going to go with the Mets. I think I'm going to go with the Mets. I think I'm going to change my pick. I'm going to go with the New York Mets moving on in the 2021 NL wildcard. I think just you can't beat deGrom in a one-game series. I just don't think you can. Now for the AL wildcard game, I've got the Tampa Bay Rays versus the Minnesota Twins. So the Rays here, let's go ahead and talk about them first. I think that this lineup is sneaky good with Austin Meadows, Brandon Lau, Randy Arozarena at the top, G-Man Choi, Manuel Margot, Joey Wendell, Willie Adames, and Kevin Kiermaier and Mike Suyama. So you've got three All-Star candidates at the top of your lineup there, which is really good to have. Three All-Star candidates, like I said. Then you've got off the bench Francisco Mejia, Yandy Diaz, Yossi Takuski. So here's the thing with the Rays this offseason. I know that people are going to say, yes, you lost Blake Snell, Charlie Morton this offseason, but your additions were Chris Archer, Michael Wacha, Rich Hill, Colin McHugh, which I think one of those players will end up turning their career around with the Rays, and Luis Patino, Cole Wilcox, and Francisco Mejia. Your rotation as of right now looks like Glasnow, who I've said multiple times is one of the most overrated players in baseball. You've got Rich Hill, Chris Archer, Ryan Yarbrough, Michael Wacha. Now, do not get it screwed. I'm concerned about the Rays, but this bullpen's just so good. Diego Castillo, Nick Anderson, Pete Fairbanks. Like, that's a solid, more than solid bullpen. You've also got Jalen Beeks coming back in that bullpen, and Yanni Chirinos in that rotation. So for the Rays here, they're a stinky team that I think you can always count on to be very good. And you've also got Wonder Watch. It's Wonder Franco going to come up this year. You've got Fidel Brujan, Josh Lowe, Xavier Edwards. This is one of the best teams for the future in baseball because, I mean, frankly, they have the best farm system in baseball. I think most people agree on that they do that they do have the best farm system in baseball. Now going on to the other team, the Minnesota Twins. Additions this offseason, Nelson Cruz, they re-signed him. Andrelton Simmons, Alex Colome, J.A. Happ, Matt Shoemaker. Subtractions, Rich Hill and Eddie Rosario. Now for this Twins team, I'm not totally sold that they're going to be a playoff team, and I would not be mad if you put the Blue Jays at their spot. But here's the thing. Their starting pitching is concerning. It's Kenta Maeda, and after that, it's kind of some question marks. Jose Barrios, I think, is a question mark. Michael Pineda, Jay Happ, Matt Shoemaker, all these players are question marks. You've got in that bullpen Alex Colome, Taylor Rogers, and after that, it's just kind of crap. That's why I think Hanzo Robles needs to really break out for this team. Now, I do really like their lineup with Max Kepler, Josh Donaldson, Nelson Cruz, Jorge Polanco, who had a breakout season just a couple of years ago, Miguel Sano, Alex Kirilloff, Byron Buxton, Ryan Jeffers, and Andrelton Simmons. But their lineup is very just right-handed heavy, in my opinion. And yeah, so but the backup's still very good. You've got Luis Arias, Brent Rooker, and Mitch Garver. I think that is some good backups, some very quality backups for this team. And I think that this Twins team does end up making the wild card, but I'll take the Rays in the wild card game. Next, moving on to the NL wild card. Why is it not moving? Okay. Or AL Division Series. Whoops. Moving on to the AL Division Series. I'm not really going to go over the Rays again because we just talked about them. And I'm not trying to get repetitive. You know what I mean? I'm trying to keep it like fresh. So yeah. Moving on to the Yankees. We've already talked about the Rays. What I think about the Rays, I think that their starting pitching is a little concerning. I think that their relief pitching is very good, and I think that their lineup is top heavy, but still pretty good. Now moving on to the New York Yankees, where their bullpen is the best in baseball in many people's eyes, and you couldn't really argue that. They've got Justin Wilson, Darren O'Day, Aroldis Chapman in that bullpen. Like, that's a very good bullpen. But their starting rotation is where I've said multiple times that I have concerns. And I still really do have concerns. I mean, Corey Kluber and Jameson Taillon, these are players that are very injury prone. And I'm just not totally sold on the idea of the Yankees starting rotation. You've got Garrett Cole, who's in that Cy Young conversation every year. If Domingo Germán can get his life together, then maybe he could be somebody there. But the problem is injuries as well, because Aaron Judge has been injury prone. Giancarlo Stanton has been injury prone. So if these players can stay healthy, then this Yankees team, I think, is a just about guaranteed for the World Series, if I'm being honest. You've got DJ LeMahieu, Aaron Judge, Aaron Hicks, Giancarlo Stanton, Luke Boyd, Gleyber Torres, Gary Sanchez, Clint Frazier, Gio Urshela in that starting lineup. So yeah, this Yankees team, I think that Aaron Judge is finally going to stay healthy this year. I'm starting to think that he's going to play 100-plus games this year. Giancarlo Stanton, I don't think he is anybody to bet on. But I still think that this rotation, I'm a big believer in Jameson Taillon for the 2021 season. I really am. And I think Jordan Montgomery, Domingo Germán, and Corey Kluber will be enough supporting cast. As much as and you've got Luis Severino, who will be coming back from Tommy John. And they still don't have Zach Britton in that bullpen. So yeah, as much as I would love to pick the Rays here, I'm not going to be biased. I'm going to go with the Yankees. It's boring, but yeah. So yes, coming in the NL Division Series, number 1 versus number 4. I'm going to go with the New York Mets versus the LA Dodgers. Now the Mets here, I think that they do match up pretty well with the Dodgers, and I think that the Dodgers this is going to be a good challenge for the Dodgers, if I'm being honest. But for the Dodgers this offseason, I mean, they just stacked up even more. I mean, they're trying to buy themselves a World Series, and I mean, they're stacking their team up. So let's go ahead and I'm trying to get to the Dodgers. Additions: Trevor Bauer, Justin Turner, Blake Trinan, Corey Knebel, and your subtractions are Jock Peterson, Jake McGee, and Kiki Hernandez. Now, I think that Corey Knebel is a breakout candidate for this team. The Dodgers, I don't know what they do with their pitchers, but like I think Trevor Bauer is going to break out even more. You think a Cy Young? I mean, we've already saw a Cy Young season from him. I think he's going to break out even more, especially in this rotation with more run support. You've got three Cy Youngs at the top of your rotation: Walker Buehler, Trevor Bauer, and Clayton Kershaw. I think Julio Urias is a breakout candidate. David Price, Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin. I mean, this team is just so good. And you've got Kenley Jansen, Blake Trinan, Victor Gonzalez, Corey Knebel, Dustin May, if you want to, in that bullpen. This team is so good, and you still don't even have. I'm still not even counting Joe Kelly, Brewster Gratterall in that bullpen. Yeah, it's not like it's just their pitching because their starting lineup is stacked. Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, Justin Turner, Max Muncy, Cody Bellinger, Will Smith, A.J. Pollock, Gavin Lux. And in my opinion, they have two top 5 players in baseball in Cody Bellinger and Mookie Betts. And I think Corey Seager, I mean, he's going to get paid this next offseason. Dodgers, Mets, I'm going to go with the Dodgers winning. And I think this is going to be a close one. I think it's 5 games for the NL Division Series. I don't even remember. If it's 5 games, then I'm going to go Dodgers in 5. If I'm a Mets fan, I'd be very happy with this season. AL Division Series, 2 seed, 3 seed. I'm going to go White Sox Astros here. For the Astros, I think they're a sneaky team, but I don't know what you can expect from Justin Verlander coming back from Tommy John surgery. Same thing with Jose Altuve. I think there's a lot of question marks on this Astros team. And you picked up Jake Odorizzi this offseason along with Pedro Baez. But yeah, I mean, you've got Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, Michael Brantley, Alex Bregman, Yordan Alvarez, Yuli Gurriel, Kyle Tucker, Martin Maldonado, and Miles Straw in that lineup. That's a great lineup. There's no and if or buts about that. But I start to get concerned about their bullpen because their bullpen I just don't think is very good at all. Ryan Presley, and besides that, it's like Pedro Baez, and that's kind of it. Like, it's kind of bad. So if Framber Valdez and Justin Verlander can come back, then that makes their rotation instantly one of the top in baseball with Zach Greinke, Lance McCullers, Justin Verlander, Jake Odorizzi, and Framber Valdez if they're healthy, which I think that's a really good rotation, but I don't think Justin Verlander is coming back in 2021. And yeah, this Astros team, their pitching is very concerning to me. Now moving on to the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox are a team that people are picking to win the World Series, and it's the fun pick to pick them to win the World Series or go to the World Series is what I meant. So yeah, they signed Liam Hendricks this offseason. That's a huge move. Yeah, you've got Andrew Vaughn, Michael Kopech, Nick Madrigal in that farm system, Garrett Crochet. Like, this farm system stacked. Their lineup: Tim Anderson, Adam Eaton, Yasmani Grandal, Jose Abreu, 2020 AL MVP, Eloy Jimenez, Yohan Moncada, Luis Robert, Zach Collins, and Nick Madrigal. If Nick Madrigal is your 9-hitter, that tells you how stacked your team is. Nick Madrigal is really good. And off the bench, I mean, you're going to have Danny Mendick and Lori Garcia. Starting rotation, I think, is full of 3 Cy Young candidates: Lance Lynn, Dallas Keuchel, and Lucas Giolito. They're working on extensions for Lucas Giolito, on an extension possibly for Lucas Giolito. You've got Dylan Cease, Carlos Rendon in that bullpen. I think their bullpen's actually kind of sneaky with Evan Marshall, Aaron Bummer, Liam Hendricks, and Garrett Crochet, and you will have Michael Kopech in that bullpen. I think that their bullpen's actually really sneaky, and I'm going to go with the White Sox winning that series. NL 2 seed, 3 seed is going to be Brewers Braves. So the Brewers come out of the weakest division in baseball in the NL Central. I had to get a sip of water. The Brewers. Christian Yelich was not very good in 2020, and they almost made the playoffs. Yes, it was an expanded playoffs, but yeah. They signed Jackie Bradley Jr., Colton Wong this offseason. And their lineup actually is sneaky good with Colton Wong, Lorenzo Cain, Christian Yelich, Keston Hiura, who's a big power bat, Travis Shaw, Jackie Bradley Jr., Orlando Arcia. Sneaky good. And you've got Avisail Garcia off the bench, who I think is a good bench piece. Then in the rotation, you build up a rotation that's actually pretty good. Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns, Josh Lindblom, Adrian Hauser, and Brett Anderson. And your bullpen, I think, is absolutely stacked with Devin Williams and Josh Hader, maybe the two best relief pitchers in baseball. You could argue that, and I don't think I would really argue. I don't think there's an argument against that. So yeah, this Brewers team is very good. But then you have the Braves that almost beat the Dodgers in 2020, and they should have. They choked 3-1, and as a Braves fan, I hate to say that. But this offseason, they re-signed Ozuna, and they re-signed Josh Tomlin, and they got Charlie Morton. Their rotation looks great. You've got Morton, Fried, Soroka, Anderson, Drew Smiley, and yeah, that's a really good rotation. Along with Will Smith, Chris Martin, AJ Minter in that bullpen. That's a good bullpen too. I mean, that's a very solid bullpen. And they've still got prospects to come up, like Christian Pache, Drew Waters, William Contreras. And their starting lineup's absolutely stacked too. Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman, Marcell Ozuna, Travis d'Arnaud, Dansby Swanson, Austin Riley, Christian Pache. That's a stacked lineup. I'm going with the Braves in this series. I think they beat the Brewers. The Brewers, I think they beat the Brewers. I really do. I don't think it's going to be too close, even though I just think the Braves are better. I'm just going to be honest. Next is the AL Championship Series. We've got the White Sox, Yankees. So let's go ahead and for the starting lineup, I think that the White Sox is better. I'm going to be honest. I think that the White Sox is better. I like the Yankees lineup. I think it's very good. But I'm just going to go off injuries here. White Sox hitting, I think, might be better if the injuries do still happen. So, yeah, you've got that. Relief pitching, I think that the Yankees is slightly better. I think the rotation, I think the White Sox are better. And moving on to the World Series in the AL, I'm going to go with the Chicago White Sox. I think that this White Sox team is so good, and I think that people are sleeping on them. Watch out for the White Sox. My NL Championship Series is a rematch of last year, the Braves versus the Dodgers. So, going off lineups here, I think the Dodgers, unfortunately, do have the advantage. Lineup-wise, rotation-wise, I think that the Dodgers probably have the advantage. Bullpen-wise, I think that the Dodgers probably have the advantage. As much as I would love to pick the Braves here as a Braves fan, I'm not going to be biased this year like I was last year. Pick Braves, Rays. That's what I picked last year. I was halfway right. But this year, I think that the Dodgers are simply too good. So for the World Series, I've got White Sox, Dodgers. So let's go ahead, and this is a very interesting matchup here. The White Sox, the younger team here, the team with less experience, but still the team that is very, very good. This Dodgers, let's go ahead and look at the Dodgers here because this team is stacked. For the lineup, I think I'm going to go with the Dodgers. For the bullpen, I think that I'm going to go with the White Sox. And the starting rotation, I'm going to go with the Dodgers. So, yeah. White Sox Dodgers winning this series in a 6-game series. I'm going to go with my World Series champion for 2021. We've got the World Series matchup right here on the screen, as you can see. White Sox Dodgers. My 2021 World Series champion for Major League Baseball is going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers repeating. I know it's the boring pick, but it's the pick that I think is most likely going to be right. Dodgers win the World Series again, in my opinion. So, yeah, those are my full 2021 MLB season predictions. Like I said, go back, watch my season predictions video if you have not yet. But, yeah, you should probably watch that before you watch this. But if you didn't, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, so let's go ahead and go back through here real quick. As some honorable mentions for the wild card game, I'm going to go with Nationals Cardinals as some honorable mentions, and I'm going to go with Cleveland Toronto as my honorable mentions for the AL. I'm going to go with Mets Padres for the wild card game. The Mets win. I'm going to go with Rays Twins for the wild card game. Rays win. Yankees, Rays, I'm going to go with the Yankees, unfortunately. Dodgers, Mets, I'm going to go with the Dodgers. White Sox, Astros, White Sox. Braves, Brewers, Braves. White Sox, Yankees, I went with the White Sox. Dodgers over the Braves. White Sox Dodgers are my World Series pick, and the World Series winner, in my opinion, is going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers for the second year in a row. Yeah, they got cheated out of it. They're going to get their 2 World Series back. It does not really, yeah. So yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications. What is your World Series pick? I'm interested. Yeah, I see a lot of people picking the Dodgers. I think that's probably the obvious choice here. But yeah. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications because 85% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed. Get your life together. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and leave a like. Thank you for watching, and